here we are at Marengo. Napoleon has managed to trap the Austrian army in Alexandria, but he doesn't have enough strength to take Alexandria. The Austrians can't stay in there forever. They're going to have to break out. Napoleon also, while he can forage out here, he can't stay here forever either. Fearing the Austrians might be going to break out, he sent some forces north and he sent some forces south. And wouldn't you know it, just when he does that, the Austrians decide to break out and make their attack. The first turn, just the Austrians move. It simulates their breakout. They open up with artillery fire. Sends a forward detachment tumbling back. This artillery is not within range of anything. This artillery, however, fire here. But again, just drives back some screening detachments in front. This artillery is unable to see anything. In the south, Ott moves first. On the Austrian left flank, O'Reilly moves with the light troops. And next, the main Austrian body moves ahead. In the event the light troops get sent back, tumbling back from some sort of French perfidy, they want to keep distance so the troops don't get followed up. And here are the dice that I moved down to mark each of the 8 turns after the initial Austrian breakout. Turn 1. First drawn is Napoleon. His command moves forward. Second drawn is O'Reilly. He has the light troops on the Austrian left. As light troops, they screen. Next is Ott, and he moves to flank the French army. Next is Launay. His command falls back. Next is Murat with his cavalry. They race down to protect that flank. Next is Melas, the main Austrian troops. They can get that far as they empty out. And finally, Victor's Corps. Victor's Corps falls back in good order. Turn 2. Now, seeing that the game is afoot, this is what's happening right here and now. Napoleon recalls all his elements that he sent out and around to watch for possible Austrian breakout routes, other than right in front of them. Will they come in time? We shall see. This time Victor is drawn first. He'd rather be drawn last so he can move away from the Austrians after they've contacted him. That's not how things are working out. He leaves a small detachment in the town of Castel Seriolo and moves the rest of his forces up into the heights. Launay follows suit. On the Austrian right, Ott presses forward. Next, Melas' main force moves forward. Napoleon watches developments and has his forces stay where they are. Murat covers the French left. In the first combat, O'Reilly's Jagers attack the detachments that were left in the town of Castel Seriolo. And the French detachments are destroyed. Turn 3. With the arrival of the French cavalry on the French left, O'Reilly must abandon any idea of trying to get around the French left and is now merely securing the Austrian right flank. With the arrival of the cavalry, Launay also extends his front. Now O'Reilly continues threatening the French flank here. Meanwhile, Murat rides off to anticipate and meet his reinforcements. The Rivaud's cavalry is riding up the road. Melas' best troops prepare for the drive in the center. Meanwhile, his artillery, in order to reposition itself, switches into road mode and begins being brought forward as fast as it can. Napoleon begins becoming concerned with his right flank. Melas' main cavalry also moves forward. And finally, Victor must respond to these new threats. He finds himself maneuvered off the ridgeline. First 3 turns there has been no fighting. Now it's turn 4. I have a feeling things are about to change. So Melas moves first, which when you're attacking in pub battles is not a good thing necessarily, because rather than fighting these troops, the French will again simply be able to back away. On the other hand, the cavalry is digging this. Now it's Murat's cavalry, so the cavalry can simply fall back. Which they would anyway, because these are just hussars, light cavalry, and these are medium-weight dragoons. Murat gets this far, Napoleon tells him, hey, all the Austrian cavalry is on our right. So Murat sends word to his cavalry, saying, come quickly, come quickly. This is me playing double-blind solo, which means I might know that, okay, I need to start moving these guys up here right now. But they wouldn't know that. So I'm delaying them a turn while word gets around and they say, hey, it's not going down over here, it's going down up here. Getting your cavalry positioned on an entirely different flank can be kind of a big deal. Napoleon sets up his artillery to cover his right flank. Victor continues to fall back. Ott brings up his artillery to hammer at the French. O'Reilly's bringing his forces forward. The light troops are combining, ready to play havoc. Now it might have been fun to attack this exposed unit, but O'Reilly is a different command from Melis's main command, and O'Reilly's orders are to work with the main line. So he's going to wait till they attack before he attacks. Lannes holds. This is Lannes' troops. Here's Lannes. They're holding right there. And now it's turn 5. The French have been kind of falling back all morning, but this is going to have to change because now the Austrians can break out right here. Now it's going to be a race. Napoleon's troops, the guard, is moving up to cover the road, and now Melis attacks. Now the interesting thing here is these French troops aren't on the ridge line, but that's not how the combat effects work. If the attacker is attacking from lower ground, they started out down here. They had to come up and cross over the hilltop to get there. Therefore, these Frenchmen get the hill bonus. Now here you run into the problems that the old Ancien regime armies have when facing a modern corps-based army. Melis would love to be attacking all sorts of French with his cavalry out here, but they're beyond the range of his command because he has to be down here to command the main attack. The Austrian army is just not a light, mobile army. The French are, and they react. Murat's bringing his cavalry around. And Decisive has come on. Decisive races ahead to meet with Napoleon. Now he's in charge of this division now that he's on the board. This division is going to stay and hold here. Lannes stretches out his front. He can't just leave here because the Austrians can still get out. If they can capture this road, they win also. Victor's Corps has been drawn. Victor's Corps is in combat here, and they're going to hold. They're going to fight. They're going to make a stand right here. In fact, Gardain's division is going to collapse on itself and improve its defenses. This turn, we have combat. Both these attacks are being spearheaded by the Austrian Grenadiers. The Austrian Grenadiers are driven back. The Austrians suffer heavy casualties. Victor's Corps remains. Over here, Monier's division and the French Light, or the Austrian Light, excuse me. The light troops are victorious, but they suffer heavy losses. Turn 6. Napoleon wheels his artillery around and fires on the Austrian foot. The Austrian Light is driven back with losses. O'Reilly must keep up the pressure. He rallies his troops and drives them back into the French. Ott's artillery opens up on the French line. Lannes' men fall back. With the hurrah, the Austrians drive forward. Ordinarily, seeing all this, the French player might consider turning the cavalry around and supporting these defenders. But their orders are to race to the right where things are emergency level critical. The French player does not have to stress over this. Because they have their orders, that's what they're doing. For good or ill, that's what they have to do. The Hussars ride forward and cover the road. Melas continues his push in the center. Lannes' Corps falls back. Now this is Decisive's Corps, and they can move, and they want to move along here to hold that, to hold the French supply line. But the French cavalry lies on the road. They can't move on the road. And there is a way around like this, but you know what? They would not have known that until they ran up to here and suddenly the road was blocked. So in a classic military snafu, that's all the farther they get. Moving last is Victor's Corps, and this is a great break for Victor's Corps because they need to be able to get away from this combat. Here the Austrians are in contact with their unpacked bags, or with their packed bags, so the bags move back. Moving these forward troops first, they won't be able to turn around, but they're just running away. And everyone else has moved, so they're not going to get hit from behind. Decide's division must hold. They've been told to hold, they will hold. Victor's remaining troops will turn to face as they fall back. One combat, the remnant of the Austrian Jagers and the remnant of Monier's division and Decisive's Corps. Unfortunately for Decisive's Corps, the division fighting all day just can't last any longer, and the light troops, the Austrian light troops, scatter them to the wind. Turn 7, early evening. Decisive still held up. Front division pulls out a line, which allows the rear division to slip on the northern pathway. Laney's troops secure the ridge and they're going to hold here. Deploy bags, Washburn recovers, then not move. He reorders his line. O'Reilly's troops continue their attack on the flank of the French line. Napoleon repositions himself for what could be a desperate final turn next turn. Victor counterattacks the Augurs, rebuilds his line, falls back and unpacks his bag. He's going to hold here. Murat's cavalry races to engage the forward elements of Melis's cavalry. His hussars cover their flanks. It's turn 7, and now we've got some combat. On Victor's corps here in the center. And Victor's corps destroys the rest of the Austrian light troops. The Archduke's dragoons realize they're being overwhelmed by Murat's cavalry, and they fall back. Now here we are, turn 8, last turn of the day. The Austrians have to break out or they lose. They won't be able to control this area because they cannot get the French off of the road. The cavalry here is no match for the French cavalry. They're not going to break through in the center to this area, and they can't either. If there were no French here, they can't reach this breakout route. So at this point, the Austrians have failed to break out. It is a French victory. The French have lost one small detachment in one block. The Austrians have lost 3 blocks. In both cases, those are actually very, very light damages. Neither army is near breaking. French victory at Marengo. Good game.